What's good, y'all? Back again. Another day. Can you shut the door? Thanks, beautiful. I appreciate you. I love you. Welcome to your town, y'all. We live again. I got my girl Monty with me. Say hey. Mommy had some business that she had to take care of and whatnot. So I'm here with Monty again. We just chilling in the office and needed to go live, man, because we still pushing every day live until 5 until we hit 500 subscribers. Now, I apologize for last night. Your boy was going through it, man. I don't know what's been going on. I have not been feeling good. And, I think honestly, that's kind of what leads into what we're going to talk about tonight, which is mental health, man. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know, man. But anyway, before we get into that, because this is going to be a little personal, but I'm always personal with y'all. We always keep it 100 in Yorktown where it goes down. You know what I'm saying? But I got a big pimple on my nose. Y'all can't see it, but if you look, you can kind of see the outline. My nose is kind of swollen. Or if I turn this way, you can see it. Got a whole snub nose like Scottie Pippen going on right now, but it's all good. Anyway, we're gonna keep rocking. So, yeah, man, I just want to talk about mental health, man. I know it comes up a lot, and a lot of times when it comes up, it seems disingenuous, or it seems like people are just, not really. I don't know. It seems like people are trying to cop out when they bring up mental health or whatever the case may be, man. So hold on, let me get your little snuggie together. So yeah, man, it's just we be going through it sometimes, and when we go through it, we don't really. Oh, that's why. When we go through it, sometimes we just keep going and we just keep pushing, and we act like everything's okay when we're hurting, and we don't really take time to properly grieve or heal, and we just have a bunch of leftover trauma and just stuff that lingers on, man. And I feel like that's something, for sure, as men, that we need to actively work on and deal with, man. Just getting rid of all of that energy, man, because energy doesn't disappear. You have to channel it, or you have to find productive ways to deal with it. And I can honestly say that I'm not the best at doing that all the time. Like, you know um I try and I work really hard. And I think a lot of people notice it, you know what I'm saying? It's a constant task. It's like I'm always working to be better for myself and my family. It's like, man, but it's definitely a job. The way I look at it, it's like mental health, some people, they just have it ingrained in them to let's look at mental health. Like, I don't remember who said it. I think it was John Maxwell. That mental health is like a garden, and if you don't do anything to the garden and you just leave it, then eventually the world will take it back over. And the world meaning weeds and trees and animals and bugs, and the world will just take the lawn back, and it'll go back to its original state. Whereas a well manicured lawn, you have constant cutting of the grass, you have constant raking of the leaves in the winter time, in the winter time or the fall, getting off the snow, just protecting it from the elements and making it look nice and well kept. And that's how our mental health is. We have to always be working on our mental health and learning and growing and developing it so that it turns out better, than if we just leave it alone. And so, I think a lot of it is just constant maintenance and upkeep. And, for me personally, I have to put in a lot of work to stay positive. And some days are easier than others, man. Like, I ain't gonna lie, like losing my grandma was tough this year. Losing my grandma last year was tough because, as I get in my 30s, I'm starting to lose people. And, I never really lost people that close to me. I lost classmates, and, that's different because those aren't really like family. and of course you do have classmates that become family, you have friends that become family, things of that nature. But like to actually lose someone that you've known your entire life. Like my grandma, man, when I was barely knowing how to talk, when I was a baby, I have memories of my grandmother, man. And, I feel like this year was really trying, man. Just it started off, the car broke down, boom, had to get rid of that, me and the wife was down to one car, just holding it down and just staying the course and staying positive and staying consistent. And complications with the pregnancy and just dealing with everyday interactions and co-parenting and the whole nine. It can definitely wear you down and take a toll on you. And so, I've been really, really, really trying to just stay present and stay positive as best as possible. It's definitely a chore, man. I don't know. So I'm hoping maybe, you guys watch this and you have some suggestions. For the longest time, I've been, opposed to therapy. Um, but, at this day and age, I'm not. Me and the wife have been talking about it forever. Just going to just talk to somebody from a neutral standpoint, just to get outside input. um, I always think that I can just diagnose myself. Like if I'm feeling something or I have an issue, I go read a book. Like that's just the type of person I am. I feel like, if therapists went to school to learn therapy, I could just read the books that they've read and then I can ther therapists, I don't know, I can self-analyze myself. And it's hard to do that because naturally you have biases on yourself and it's hard to really see you for who you are. And that's not to say that you can't be self-aware, because you can absolutely 100% be self-aware. But at the same time, we have blinders and we have things that we just don't see that other people see from a neutral standpoint, which can help out. Like even with the losing of the job thing, like on one hand, it's super cool because I have so much time, but then it's like, I have to figure out how to manage this time and actually make it productive and get things done. Like I've been prioritizing rest because that's been something that I've needed for the longest. But then the thing about rest is if you rest too much, then you feel like you're being unproductive. And, that starts to take a toll on you because it's like, there's so many other things that I could be doing, but I'm just sitting here laying around. And then, that leads into beating yourself up. Like, why are you just laying around when you could be out here figuring something out or doing something? And, I am looking for alternatives as far as going back to work, just to have um, options. Because I look at jobs as like education, and credibility. So for me, a job isn't just a place to make money, it's a place for me to learn and acquire skills that I can take and use to better myself. Because, working for certain companies gives you credibility and it gives you, when you go out on your own, you can say, hey, I did this and this and I worked for this and that. Because I've been on my own before, out there in the field. And, you know, when you walk in a room and you're building that credibility yourself, it's an uphill battle rather than, you having a network and you have a base of people where you could say, yes, I'm doing this on my own, but I also have X, Y, and Z. And I think that's kind of what sets things apart. So it's a balancing act, man. I say all of that to say, I'm definitely juggling and learning more about myself even still at this day, and trying to figure out how I can be better and work on myself and heal and deal with past traumas and even forgiving parents and stuff like that, man. Like just childhood trauma and all kinds of things. It's like there's just so much that we have to work on, and it's like finding time to do it all is just always the thing. Because it's like even if you have all the time in the world, you still have to actively prioritize things. So I think that that is key, and I hope that everybody is prioritizing those types of things, because mental health is definitely something that you can take for granted, thinking that everything's well, and you build up, just you learn how it's like first aid. If you break your leg Or like basketball, I think of Kobe Bryant when he was playing with a broken hand. Like, instead of missing the season and getting his hand taken care of, he plays through the pain anyway. And it's like we are so conditioned on playing through the pain that if we stop and think about healing and fixing ourselves, we feel like we're losing time, or we're selling ourselves short. And that's something that I've been wrestling with, and that's something that I definitely feel like I need to work on. So I think I don't really do New Year's resolutions or anything like that because I feel like it's just disingenuous. No disrespect if you do that, but I feel like, you start when you start. It doesn't have to be January 1 or whatever the case may be. You could start on December 28th, or, May 10th. You start when you start, and when you finish is when you finish. So, I think next year, my word, I know me and my wife, every year we pick words. My boy Jamari is in Yorktown. What's going down, my guy? Just talking about mental health and, just trying to survive out here in this world, man, and just deal with everything that's going on and everything that you have to deal with on a day-to-day basis. But you start when you start and you finish when you finish. And usually my wife and I, we come up with themes for the year or words that we want to focus on to kind of keep our mental ready so we can figure out how we want to attack the year. So for example, my wife, she said next year her word is going to be habits. She wants to create good habits, and she wants to, use those good habits to push forward and be a better person all around and get more things done, be productive, the whole nine. And I think the word that I'm settling on, I'm thinking about it because I really want to be conscientious about it. But the word that I think I'm going to be landing on is consistency. I just want to be consistent. I want to make sure that whatever I do, I'm consistent at it. Firm, fair, and consistent. I want to be consistent with how I deal with people so they understand what they're getting. I want to be consistent with my routines and how I operate and what I keep in place. Consistent with my energy, consistent across the board. And, I think another John Maxwell quote, he was talking about chopping down a big tree. And, he asked, how do you chop down a big tree? With the axe. And, a lot of people were coming up with all these crazy ways and ideas and stuff. And he was like, well, you chop down a tree one swing at a time. Like, no matter how you cut down the tree, if you're using the axe, you can only chop it down one swing at a time. And so, being consistent is just doing one thing at a time. And, those things pile up and they add up. And, I like to look at coaches and people that lead people, great leaders and things of that nature. And I noticed that, you know, um, a lot of the great coaches, they focus on the basics and the fundamentals before they get into any of the other stuff. So John Wooden, one of the most winningest basketball coaches of all time, or football, I can't remember. I'm not a big sports guy, but I like studying sports. So John Wooden, famous coach, um, he would have guys tying their shoestrings perfectly, because if you tie your shoestrings perfectly, you build that repetition up and you can use that and apply that logic to other things. People always ask, how can you be more confident, or how do you build confidence? Because, if you look into dating coaches or red pill and all of that other stuff, they're always talking about, you got to be confident. You got to be confident. You look at any sales training or any type of marketing or anything like that, it's always talking about confidence. And then, when people ask, well, how do you get confidence? Nobody can ever really give you an answer. But I always like to say, and I got this from somewhere too. I don't know. This is not my original idea. Um, Confidence comes from competence, and competence just means being good at something. So you build your confidence by attributing success. So let's say, you want to be an artist. Well, in order to be a good artist, you start by learning how to draw a perfect circle. And then you do it over and over and over, and then you master that. And then when you do that, then you move on to a straight line. And then, through your hard work, your effort, and taking the time to learn how to do step A, then you move on to step B, and then you move on to step C, and so on and so forth, gradually, consistently. as you keep moving on and advancing, you become more confident. And you become confident because you know what you've done. You know that you started from nothing and you didn't know how to draw a circle. But now, because of your training and your practice and your consistency, you are able to draw a circle. And, step by step, you build up your confidence by doing little things, perfecting them, and getting good at it. And then it keeps increasing. So, that's why I think my word is going to be consistency, just being consistent at everything that I do. Because even, I look back at when I got laid off and how I lost my job. I just like to look at myself objectively and think, yes, it was out of my control and it was something that I had no control over. There was nothing that I could do. But what are some things that I could have done differently in that time to make it less appealing, and I sat down and I made a list of, things moving forward that I know I need to be more consistent on, or I need to stick to my guns, or I need to work on and go from there. So it's always, life is just about trial and error, man. You go through, you make mistakes, and then from those mistakes you take notes and you learn, you figure out what worked, what didn't work, you cut out the things that don't work and you focus on the things that do work, and then you move to the next level, and then you do it again, because every time you go up to a new level you don't know anything, so you're going to make mistakes. When you make those mistakes, you don't get emotional, you don't get upset, or you do get emotional, but you take it in and you understand that once enough time has passed, you got to sit down and revisit those moments, even if they're painful. You got to figure out what you did wrong and then figure out how to not do those types of things again. Um, I remember I used to drink a lot. And here's an example, a personal example from my life. I used to drink a lot. And I noticed that when I used to drink, I used to be very wild. I used to act crazy. I used to treat people rude and just all types of negative things. And so, one day I just sat down and I realized that, me drinking doesn't benefit me in any way. It hurts me way more than it helps. And so me and my wife, I was drinking and we fell out, and she was like, I don't like when you drink. And so I had to make a decision. It's like, I like this girl, I don't want to lose her, I want to keep her. Is it worth drinking? No. Stop drinking, just like that, right then and there, done. That's because I looked back over my life, I thought about a lot of the bad situations that happened, I thought about a lot of things that went wrong, and I noticed a pattern. A lot of those times I was using alcohol, so I stopped drinking, just like that. You know, and then at one point, I drink on occasions, or I drink with her casually. But shoot, New Year's Day, it'll be a year that I haven't drank at all. I haven't even touched alcohol, and I don't miss it. It's cool. um you look at failed relationships, even if you were perfect and you did everything right, there's still some things that you can look back and learn from and realize that you did that, maybe rub somebody the wrong way, or maybe it was even the person that you picked. Like in your heart of hearts, you knew that you probably shouldn't have been with that person to begin with, but you slept over some things, or you let some things fly that you shouldn't have, or you ignored some red flags, or maybe you were the problem. Maybe you were the red flags and you shouldn't even been dating in the first place. Like I remember when I was real bad off financially, and I wasn't in a good space. I knew my mental was messed up. I knew I was just down and out, and my funds wasn't together. I didn't have a car. I wasn't really in a working situation like that. I just wasn't dating. I'm like, I'm gonna just take some time off. I'm gonna get myself together, and then I'm gonna get back out there. Now, does that mean for you that you have to have money to date? No, that's not what I'm saying at all. Because there's been plenty of times when I didn't have money and I was still able to date and maneuver. But what I'm saying is, sometimes you just have to take a break and step back and figure out, what you need to do to work on yourself before you move on to the next level. Or even if you are in the new next level, then you still have to sit down and look at what you don't know and what you need to know. And finding out what you don't know is very hard. Like it's hard because you don't know what you don't know. And that's when you have to lean on other people, which is always risky because, if you're in a position where you're supposed to know but you don't know, you have to kind of maneuver around to pick up the information on the fly. But if you are in a place that focuses on growth and developing people and making sure that you have the information that you need, then you got to be a sponge. You got to be asking questions that you can cover that learning curve and learn as much as possible to move to the next level. Um, so yeah, that's my soapbox. That's where I'm at. You know, I think, like I said, my word is definitely going to be. I think I'm about 80% sure that my word for next year is going to be consistency, man. Which, even y'all, man, shout out to Yorktown, man. Y'all are helping me out big time with this consistency thing because I have been going live every day. I missed one day, and that was my fault just because of improper planning. I got to eat that, but I've been going live every day. Even yesterday, I felt horrible. Like I don't know what was going on, but I came on for like a minute just to say, "Hey, I'm here. I'm doing it. We're gonna pick up tomorrow." But consistency, man. Just taking things one step at a time, moving from A to B to C, like we talked about earlier, definitely helps out. You all right, baby girl? Amani just chilling, man. She's so cool. I love my daughter, man. Kids, bro. Kids. You know, kids one of my close friends, we'll talk about this too. One of my close friends was talking to me about having kids and, trying to figure out if they were ready to have kids or, should he just continue to pursue his dreams and have kids later in the future or whatever the case may be. And, I told him, like, yes, 100% kids are going to slow you down. You're going to have to adjust and you're going to have to adapt. Like, your life is 100% going to change when you have kids. But at the same time, a lot of people use kids as crutches or excuses to not be successful when there's plenty of people that had kids and they were still very high performing people. Like, you look at Kobe, and I keep referencing Kobe because Kobe is like one of the peak athletes or masters when I think about somebody that was willing to give everything into a field. I think of Kobe and, Jordan too, of course, but, Jordan, I don't know, Jordan is different. I look at Jordan differently than I look at Kobe because I feel like, Kobe, I think Jordan was more of a natural talent, or, we don't really hear as many stories about Jordan studying and being a student. We hear about Jordan just paving the way on his own and figuring it out as he went. But Kobe was more like a student. He was the one that kind of learned and took his time. Jordan, I don't think Jordan really had the luxury to be a student because he didn't have anybody to learn from. But you know Kobe was talking to Michael Jackson about perfection and just random people. Like, I saw on Instagram last night, AI was talking about Kobe, and he was like, Kobe found out I had a good game, and he started trashing his room and watching my tapes, and he went all the way back to high school trying to figure out, what made me me, to the point where he was watching videos on sharks to figure out how to attack. And it's like, that level of attention to detail is just unheard of, man. And so, Kobe had kids and he still found time to focus on his craft. Jordan, same thing. There's a lot of people that have kids and they still figure out how to be top performers. So, a lot of people don't have kids because they feel like their financial situation isn't right or they feel like it's going to slow them down career wise or whatever the case may be. But, I always focus on the people that do have kids or they did have kids and they were still able to be high flyers and they were still able to be successful. You know, if you want to make it, you're going to make it. That's just what it is. It may take longer, but everybody has their own story, everybody has their own journey, and that's definitely something that I have to continuously remind myself and affects my mental health because it's like, I feel like, I've been putting in a lot of work, and then when something goes wrong, I get discouraged or I feel slighted, or like Michael Jordan said, I take things personally. And so, I just had to have time to sit down and process those feelings and heal, man. And then focus back. But, it's like Big Sean. I think it was Big Sean. He said you can ball your heart out. Everyone don't get a ring though. There is a world where you work 100% and you give it your all and you do everything right and you figure it out and you learn and you try and you grind and you work and it doesn't work out. That's a reality. Let me see. My dog Jamari said my biggest challenge realizing that everyone has their own. Yeah, man. I mean, we're conditioned to compare ourselves to other people. We look at social media, which, for me, that's why I always pull up numbers and statistics because it's easy to look at social media and see people traveling the world and doing all this stuff, and you think, oh man, I must be behind. But then you look at the numbers and the data, and it's like, nah, that's not the case. Somebody's lying, and that's not hating, that's just understanding the lay of the land, man. Ignorance, when people think of ignorance, they think of, they associate the word ignorance with people just not being smart or people being unintelligent, but the word ignorant means lack of knowledge. So if you're ignorant, that means you don't know something. And ignorance in its actual definition, meaning the lack of knowledge, usually causes fear. You fear something that you don't understand. That's just human nature. If you don't understand something, then you fear it. you know um and if you don't have the knowledge, or if you don't do your own research and find out what's going on, then you end up with fear, or you don't have confidence because you don't have the competence. So just taking that time, man, and just doing research and understanding that, yeah, this person may have $1 billion, but you know, they value money more than they value family, and you value family. So naturally, you're not going to have as much money as them because you think you value money, but you value family. Because if you value money, then all you would do is pursue money and you wouldn't focus on your family. Like Steve Jobs, a lot of people, well, I think people know now, but Steve Jobs had a kid that he just neglected and didn't take care of at all because he was focused on building out his vision. Now, later he came back and took care of his daughter, but if he took care of his daughter initially, maybe Steve Jobs wouldn't have been Steve Jobs. So, that's a dilemma that each and every one of us has to figure out. How far are you willing to go to get what you want? What are you willing to give up? You look at even Diddy in the situation with Cassie. Cassie was getting flued out. Cassie was getting living the life that all of the women say that they want. But years later it comes out that there was a whole other side allegedly that went on in order for her to get those types of things. And so you ask yourself as a woman, or even men, because men have sugar mamas and stuff like that. Are you willing to sacrifice your pride, or your self-respect, or your body, in order to have things and status and whatever the case may be? There's a really good show that came out a few years ago. It's called Mr. Robot. Um, and Mr. Robot, there was a guy. The guy that made Mr. Robot is the guy that made the movie Leave the World Behind, Sam Ismail, or however you pronounce it. Um, Mr. Robot, y'all. I'm telling you, it's a really good show. If you haven't seen it, then I highly recommend you check it out. It used to come on what was it, USA? Yeah, it was on the USA Network, Mr. Robot. And so there was a guy, what was his name? I want to say it was Tyrell Wellington. Let me see. I think it was Tyrell Wellington. He was one of the main characters. Yep, Tyrell Wellick. Tyrell Wellick. That was his name, Tyrell Wellick. So, and spoiler alert, I'm gonna tell you, but you still need to watch the show. So the guy Tyrell Wellick, he was willing to do whatever it took in order to climb the ladder of corporate America for the corporation that he was working for. And so, you know, um, he went so far, he's married to his wife, and this is his wife right there. So, Tyrell Wellick, married to a wife, child on the way. I think she was pregnant at the time, child on the way. And so he wanted to get some information about I think it was either somebody in the company because they were doing a lot of politics and social politics. I think either he was trying to get some information on somebody in the company so he can move up, or it was a competitor. And so he found out that somebody was gay at the club. And so Tyrell Wellick goes to the club. He seduces this man. He brings him home. He sleeps with him just so he could get his cell phone and find out that information. He gets the information after he sleeps with him, and then he goes home to his wife and tells her about the plan. Now, I tell you that story because it's like, you think that you want certain things, but there's people out here that are willing to do things like that in order to get what they want. And if you're not willing to go that far, then obviously you can't compete with that person because that person is about to do some stuff that is just like pause, like, nah, bro, I don't want it that bad. You know what I'm saying? And so when you blindly compare yourself to people that you don't know and you don't know what they did to get certain things, then you end up comparing yourself to somebody like a Tyrell Wellick who literally slept his way into some information with another dude. You know what I'm saying? Like, and nothing against that. If that's what you're into, then have at it. That's not the point that I'm making. The point that I'm making is, you know, if you want to play a certain game and you want to get to certain heights, then you just got to be willing to go above and beyond the call in order to get those things. And when you blindly compare yourself to people that you don't know and situations that you don't know, then you're missing a lot of context and details. You're judging yourself hard because you're not where that person is, but this person had to do things that you would never do because for you it's not worth it. Like you're not about to do that, so it's no need for you to be upset. But you're upset because you don't know that that person did that, because that person ain't gonna tell you that, because it's smoke and mirrors. So that's a very extreme example, but wherever you go, there's examples of stuff like that where you have people who are willing to go above and beyond to do things that you won't do. you know so yeah, man, that's why comparison isn't good. Like that's that's an example why comparison isn't good. You look at a lot of people traveling and going places and doing all kinds of stuff. Like, some people don't tell you what they have to do to go on these traveling trips. There's a YouTube video. Let me find it. I'm about to promote. This is not an ad or nothing like that. But I do like to watch other people's YouTube documentaries and stuff. So there's a video about Dubai.
Imagine if you lived in a world where you were
I don't want that. Let me see. The Price of Success. There you go. That's a good one. That's another good one. It just goes to show how far people are going, man, to get success. But that's not the one that I was talking about. The one that you're right, baby. Where is it? It was about Dubai. Dubai. Where is it? Evil, not that. Marvel is dead. Where is it? Dubai. Yeah, there you go. Dubai. The most disturbing things that IG models do in Dubai. You know, y'all be comparing yourselves to people that go to Dubai and they take these trips and whatnot, but you don't know what these people do to get these trips, or you don't know what these trips are like because they only show you the good parts. They don't show you, that they're in a crappy hotel. The show Rap Shit on HBO. If you haven't seen it, I definitely encourage you to check it out. You know, they show how the rap industry really works as an up and coming artist and what they had to go through and the stuff that they had to deal with in order to follow their dream. That's I don't know, man. That's been definitely helping me out, man. Just understanding that, you know, what's for you is gonna be for you as long as you work hard and you stay consistent. Eventually it's gonna come. And then the other part, man, is just healing, man. Taking time to figure things out. This year I didn't journal as much as I did last year. Last year I journal every day, every single day. If I missed a day, then I journal twice, and I go back and recount my day. And, that's definitely a priority that I'm making for next year to get back to journaling, man, because, journaling, I think journaling is so slept on, man, because you get to measure your thoughts, you get to see your growth. Like at any given point in my life, I can go back and look at my journals from 2 years ago now and see where I was. And then that's how I can determine my growth because I can remind myself through, it's on paper, this is where I was at 2 years ago. Am I still here mentally or have I grown? How have I grown? What's changed? Stuff like that, man. It's just really like a measuring stick just to see, whether you are growing or whether you're staying the same. And I think another one of my biggest regrets this year was definitely not journaling as much as I did last year. So, if I had a resolution or if I have something that I'm going to do differently next year, it's going to be making sure that I get back into journaling heavy. And shout out to my wife, man. That was one of her ideas, man. We went and we bought notebooks together so we could journal. Um, one day I'm gonna just tell y'all like all of the benefits of having a wife, man. Like one of my frat brothers was about to get married and he asked me, what's it like being married? And I'm like, dog, if you have a good wife, being married is like a cheat code, bro. Like, just the power of a woman, bro. Like it is like if you have a real solid woman, man, like it gives you so much cheat codes to life, man. It just makes things so much easier, bro, because it's like having a second set of eyes. Um, I tried journaling, it didn't work out too well. I plan to try again. I just overthink too much. Hey, man, that's what you need to write down. Like, you need to literally write down, you know, last time I tried journaling, it didn't work out too much because I overthink, and then these are the things that I overthink about and write it down. Because again, when you journal, it's like this. So when you go on Facebook and sometimes you look back and your picture from 5 or 10 years pops up ago, from 5 or 10 years ago pops up, and you're like, oh man, I remember that. You know what I'm saying? And then you think back to where you were and what you were doing in that time and place. Journaling is like the equivalent of that, except it's you. You took the time and you wrote down what you were going through in that moment and where you were in that space. You know, and so when you look back, not even a year, if you look back 1 month later and you see, this month I was overthinking too much. These are the things that I was overthinking about. And then you look at your journal and you see, man, I'm still overthinking about these things. Well, then, that means you need to put extra attention on it and you got to start focusing on what you can do to stop overthinking about those specific things you know yeah, man, I use journaling. People use journaling for a lot of different reasons. um I use journaling to document myself, man. Shoot, when I was vlogging, same thing. I vlogged to look at where I was at. It's kind of like timestamps, but I definitely prefer journaling over vlogging every day because to keep it 100, when you make a vlog, man, it has to be entertaining. It has to capture people's attention, and there's like a cinematic element to it. But when you're journaling, you can be raw, you can be authentic, man. You can just lay all the cards out on the table. And, it's you. It's Kanye, and I ain't gonna go too deep on Kanye, but Kanye used to always say, I'll go out and I play one on none. Michael Jordan used to have to play 5 on 5 to get his deal. I went out and I played one on nobody. That's what journaling is like. Journaling is actually a very good way to stop comparing yourself to people too, because you're so busy focused on yourself and looking at what you're doing and focusing on your growth. You don't have time to think about what somebody else is going on. So, Jamari, big dog, I definitely challenge you. And of course, no pressure. You got to move at your own pace. But I think it would definitely be highly advantageous for you to, buy a notebook and just write down your thoughts, man. For me, journaling worked best just recapping my days, what I was thinking about. So I would journal before I went to bed. That way I could clear my mind out. It was like a brain dump. I just recap my day. I talk about how I felt. I talk about the good, the bad, the ugly. I just do a mental brain dump, put it all on paper, and then go to sleep. And then the next night I do it again. Um, A lot of people like to journal in the morning when they first wake up, and they do gratitude journaling. There's actually a really good book on that. Let me find it. That book was, what was it? The Miracle Morning. The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. That was a good book. Y'all know I love my books, man. The Miracle Morning by Hal Elrod. This book right here. So he has a habit for when you wake up, you do 6 things every morning, 6 habits, shout out to Wifey. You have your habits that you do every morning that makes your day special. And for me personally, I prefer journaling at night because, like I said, for me, it's a mental dump. I like to clear my mind out, put it all on paper, and leave it there, and then wake up, start my day, and do it all over again. But just for um, consistency purposes, I may just go back to doing the miracle morning. Because when you wake up with a purpose, then it's easier to get things done and be consistent. Let me see. I appreciate that. I will pull the journal out and just sit there contemplating what I should write about. Thank you for those tips. Dog, just write that. Hey, I'm journaling today. There's so much that I want to write about, but I can't even think where to start. This is a habit of mine. I got to figure out, what's going on. These are the things that are on my mind. I don't know which one is the most important, so I'm just gonna write them all down and figure it out. I'm telling y'all, like, people make journaling seem like it's this complicated thing. Yo, I would literally be sitting up there having conversations with myself. Man, today at work, I was so frustrated, bro. Like, I don't even know why, man. And it's just raw and vulnerable, man. Like, man, I was just so mad because he looked at me the wrong way. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, he looked at me the wrong way, and man, is this guy playing chess? Like, is he trying to get me out of here? Like, what's going on? Like, is he plotting moves behind my back? Is he trying to get me? Like, is he trying to not promote me? Whatever the case may be. Like, literally just stuff, man. Just write it down. Today I ate fish. The fish was okay. I don't think I'm gonna eat fish tomorrow. I don't know what I'm gonna eat tomorrow, but that fish wasn't hitting the way I thought it would. Like, just the craziest thing. Let me see. Let me see, y'all. I think I got my journal from this year. If I do, I'll read y'all one of my journal entries just so I can show y'all how random. Yep, here it is. I'm telling y'all, man, live in real time. Who else is gonna read their journal entries? Let me see. I'm gonna need to read this first, cause I really be talking about some crazy stuff, man. So let me see. All right, so hmm, I'm gonna read it, but I might redact some stuff so y'all can get the idea. So this was 6/16. I finally decided to start journaling in June, the middle of the year, June 16th. It's ironic. I was just sitting thinking about how I needed to start back journaling. And then boom, I got a new journal. That's so cool. Anyway, it's been too long. I've sorely missed this form of expression. I took some time off because I did need a break. But to be honest, I think I just needed to give myself enough time to miss it. 2 days ago, I locked myself out the car. It made me upset because when I make mistakes like that, it affects the whole household. I don't have the type of luxury to make those types of mistakes. It sets me mentally on a downward spiral that didn't end up that didn't end until the next day. I know that I have to work harder because we need to get back to a two-vehicle time. This is when we had one car, and then I locked myself out the car. Oh, I was sick. I also now pay all the bills because I want to add relief to my wife. It appears she needs more from me emotionally as well. I need to work on being a better husband and fulfilling her needs. Doing so requires me to dig deep into myself so that I can pour into her properly. I want to make sure that she feels deeply and genuinely loved, fulfilled with love. I have to do my part. Sometimes I wonder if it'll be enough, but who knows? It feels so good getting this stuff out. Oh, and I've been vlogging consistently. I've also been going to the gym very consistently. I've been listening to the same three books over and over this year, and I've been getting back into my Dr. Amos Wilson book. I know that I have to keep getting better. Truthfully, that's the end all be all. There's more work to be done and more loads to lift. I have to become a better version of myself. It is the only answer, especially with a baby girl on the way. Shout out to baby girl, she's here. It almost doesn't seem real. I see the belly, but I don't know if it's truly sunken in as of yet. I think that's enough for now. We will be here for a while, and it feels good to be back. I'm telling y'all, man, that's me, man. That's my journal. That's where I was at in June, on June 16th, 2023. I couldn't imagine what it was like to have a daughter. And look, y'all, now I'm sitting on live with my daughter, bruh. Just figuring out how I could be a better husband, how I could pour into my wife, beating myself up because I locked myself out the car, trying to figure out how I can be a better person, just listening to the same three books over and over again. That's that's my journal, y'all. That's what I was talking about, man. That's where I was at. And that's what I'm saying, man. It's like a timestamp in your life. You can go back and look and see exactly where you were mentally on that day. And honestly, just reading that, like, bro, I feel better, because it's like, man, I went from, you know, wanting to have two cars, and now we have two cars. I went from, trying to grow the YouTube channel to almost having 500 subscribers, man. Shout out to Yorktown once again, by the way. But I went from like 90 something subscribers at the beginning of the year, and now we sitting at 423 at the time of this recording. Maybe we'll hit 500 by the end of the year, maybe not, but just being appreciative of the fact that you know I jumped like a lot of followers just by staying consistent and building a community, chopping it up with y'all, man, and just seeing the growth, because sometimes it's easy for us to forget where we came from because we feel like we're not where we want to be. But reading it just that fast, y'all, like my heart feels good, bro. Like, again, I couldn't imagine having a daughter. And now we chilling, bro. Like, I locked myself out the whip. Now if I lock myself out the whip, we got AAA. We got all types of things. We got the other truck. Like, it's just growth, man. And just being able to look back and actually see the growth. It's like, man, we came a long way. Like, granted, yeah, we still got a way to go. We still got a lot that we have to do. We still got work to do. But that doesn't take away from the fact that we're not where we came from, man. Like, bro, I started out this year with an old beat down, I don't even remember what kind of car I had. That's how crazy it was. A Chevy Cobalt. Like, the front of my car didn't match the rest of the car. Like, the front of the car, like my hood was black and the rest of the car was orange. And people used to always ask me what was going on with my hood. And I would lie and just make up stuff to make it sound smooth. But y'all, the hood just was done. Like, we had to replace the hood with a different hood. And now we got a Suburban for the family, bro. Like, I'm telling y'all, man, a lot can change in a year for the good and the bad, man. And when you have that journal, bruh, and you look, it just makes things a lot different. Like, for me to say that, um, it's gonna change your life, that's kind of a stretch. It might not, but it'll give you a lot more gratitude, man, just knowing where you came from and just reminding yourself, because it's so easy to forget. I'm telling y'all, man. Like, let me show y'all. For those of you who have never seen the old whip, it's somewhere on the vlog. It's on the video. But yeah, man, that's how I started the year off. I got this car. Let me tell y'all, story time. I always got a story. So I got this car in 2020 because the start of the year I didn't have a car at all. My car got repossessed, and my MacBook was in the back of the car. My car got repossessed because I took out a loan against the car in order to try to pay some bills. Then I was like, I'll make some bread and I'll pay it back. Didn't happen. Car got repossessed. They took it. What I'm saying? My MacBook was in there. I was in Columbia at a grocery store, ironically. Um I walk out and I hear an alarm. I'm like, dang, somebody having a bad day. That's crazy. And I look and I see my car. And I'm like, oh, I'm having a bad day. And so I run, try to get my book bag and stuff. But the driver just sped off. He pulled off. I couldn't get my stuff. And then it took forever for me to try to figure out how to get my stuff back because my MacBook was in there and all that. Long story short, when I finally got able to see the car, the MacBook was gone. They stole my MacBook and I didn't have a computer. So that's how my 2020 started off in January. Um, and so from January until about June, no, August. From January to August, I didn't have a whip at all. During that time, I had to get a job and walk to work. I've told y'all that story countless times, so no need to rehash that. But I just started saving on my bread, and I was able to buy a car, and that was the car that I bought, a 2006 Chevy Cobalt with a missing hood. And I'm telling y'all, man, that car lasted me from 2020 until this year. 3 years. 3 years it lasted. And that job took me from, Bishopville, South Carolina, walking to work. I moved to Charlotte. I packed up everything in my little car. I moved to Charlotte. I stayed with my cousin. Um, I had to move. I stayed with some other people. I started couch surfing for a while. And then I got a spot. And I met my wife and we were dating and stuff. And, you know, that car got me through a lot, man. So just even that, man, that story in itself, bro. It's like, you know, it's easy to forget how much work you put in to get where you are today when you look at where you're going. But if you look at where you came from, then you'll appreciate where you are so much more. Like, I remember my goal when I didn't have a car and I was working at Food Lion. My goal was to get to Charlotte. Like, that was it. I just needed to get to Charlotte because I knew that when I got to Charlotte, I could make some bread and, I could be in a much better position. Charlotte wasn't that far from me being able to see my son. So I just needed enough bread to move to Charlotte. And then when I got to Charlotte, I just needed enough bread to be able to live alone. And then when I lived alone, it was, I just need to get back to six figures. And then when I got back to six figures, it's like, all right, now I need to start figuring out how I can use this money to, change my life. And so, now I'm in the phase where it's like, whatever money I get, I'm reinvesting. I got stuff that I need to get for here. I'm gonna make this look way more professional. And I'm telling y'all now, so that way when y'all see it, y'all not surprised. This is gonna become a studio. Like, I'm gonna get a new desk. Um, I'm gonna get a streaming setup where I can actually stream. The clothes they may or may not stay back there. It looks kind of cool, but I might just get a backdrop and we might switch it up. I don't know, but I do know that this is gonna definitely become a streaming studio and my office. I mean, it's already my office. As you can see, I got the whiteboards up and whatnot, but this is definitely going to be turned into a streaming station. It's going to look way more professional, way more detailed. The live production quality is going to go through the roof. Definitely going to get back to vlogging at some point. Um, just I don't know, man. We'll get back to vlogging eventually. But anyway, before I go on a tangent, man, again, it's we just take for granted where we are because we forget where we come from. And, I think that us as black people, man, just culturally, man, and not to go too deep on my Umar Johnson bag, but I gotta say, when you know where you come from, when you know your history, when you know your story, when you figure out your lineage and your roots and what your people did, it gives you a different level of confidence and esteem. When you look at where you came from yourself and the trials and tribulations that you overcame, another saying that somebody else I got, I don't know where it came from, but you survived 100% of your bad days. Just think about that. It sounds simple, but think about that. You survived 100% of your bad days. Baby, I guess you can't go to sleep with me talking, huh? But yeah, man. just understanding, my grandfather's father was a sharecropper. And, eventually he was able to get his own garden and he grew his own food. And he had, I want to say seven children, and he took care of all seven of those children. My grandfather, he didn't graduate. Well, he didn't finish. I think he got to the third grade. Um, and with that, he was able to learn how to buy cars at the auction and flip them. And for my entire life, I've never seen my granddad have a job. He was flipping cars, and then he got into real estate. He had a couple tenants, and he was able to maneuver. When my grandmother died, my mom told me a story about this couch that they had, which is a family heirloom. And, and this is just to give y'all context about understanding your lineage, man, and your people. You know, we were all sitting on the couch, and it's this old couch that we had forever. Like, we used to play hide and seek on that couch, and my parents, my mom and her brothers, they all have a picture sitting on the couch with my grandparents. It's just a family photo. And, my mom asked, "Did you ever hear the story about that couch?" I'm like, "No, I never heard the story about this couch. We play on this couch all the time. We used to hide under this couch, whoopty whoop, whoopty whoop, but I never heard the story about the couch." And so she tells me about how my grandmother went to the furniture store. I'm gonna have to leave in a little bit because baby girl getting hungry. Either that or she getting annoyed because I'm running my mouth. But I'm gonna finish the story and I'm gonna ride out. So she was telling me about how my grandmother went to the store and she saw this couch that she wanted. And so she asked the guy to help her. And, the guy told her that she couldn't afford it and he wouldn't help her. So she went home and she told my grandpa. And so my grandpa went back and he said, "All right, we're going to get that couch." So he got the money up. He went back and, he said he was going to buy the couch, but he said he was only going to buy the couch from the black dude that was working there. So, this was the 70s. So, he bought the couch and he gave the black dude the commission. And so it's like, at that time, my grandparents had 5 kids, and I think they were living in Philadelphia at the time. And just, being able to maneuver in the 70s with 5 kids in Philadelphia, and just be able to buy something that somebody told you that you couldn't have, man. It's just like, that's empowering, bro. Like, how could you hear a story like that and not want to go after everything, man? But on that note, we almost made it to an hour. Baby girl, as a matter of fact, nah, I'm gonna feed baby girl. I gotta go, y'all, man. I definitely appreciate y'all for, coming through, kicking it with your boy. Make sure you hit that like button. Make sure you subscribe if you haven't already. Shout out to my dog Jamari, and we'll catch you on the next round.